I had a couple of you guys ask about a problem that was in MathXL that looked something like 4 minus sine of 2 theta equals 4 sine of 2 theta. And you were supposed to find the solution on 0 to 360 degrees. All right, so I didn't want to do exactly the same problem, but I did want to do an example that's similar to that. So my similar example is going to be 3 minus 2 cosine of 2 theta equals 3 cosine of 2 theta. So we should get all of the cosines on one side. So I'm going to add the 2 cosine of 2 theta over. So when I do that, I get 5 cosine of 2 theta, and I still have my 3. When I divide by 5, I'm going to have 3/5 equals cosine of 2 theta. So as I taught you in the notes, whenever you have something that says 2 theta, you should double the interval that you're on. So since I said 0 to 360, we would actually find out on 0 to 720. But the problem with an example like this and the problem in your MathXL is that 3/5, or like the one in MathXL, 4/5 or whatever, it's not a unit circle value. So a unit circle value would be something like root 2 over 2, square root of 3 over 2, 1/2, 0, right? So 3/5 isn't that. So what we need to think about is on the unit circle, what we're saying is when is the cosine value, the x value, equal to 3/5? So the x value would be equal to 1 right here. So it's going to equal 3/5 somewhere before that. Okay, so it's going to equal 3/5, I don't know, like maybe somewhere around here and here. But we don't know what those values are. It's not like 60 degrees or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our calculator. And you can do this in 2 different ways. So I'm going to do inverse cosine. So when I do inverse cosine, oops, there we go, of 3/5. So I want to first make sure that I'm in degrees if the problem is in degrees. And in our case, it said like on the interval 0 to 360. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to do inverse cosine of 3/5. And it only gives me one answer out. Whoops, not 33/5. There we go, 3/5. So it gives me 53.130 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to keep that. So I'm going to have 53.130 degrees. That's going to be what our 2 theta is equal to, because this was cosine of 2 theta, right? So I'm going to say 2 theta equals 53.130 degrees. But that's not the only one. Okay, there's also an angle right here. Okay, and that is, it's symmetric, right? It's like negative 53.130 degrees. But it didn't say on the interval like negative 180 to 180, right? It didn't want negative angles. Okay, so what we do is we add 360 degrees to that. So if I go back to my calculator, I can actually store this value. I'm going to store my 53 number as A, just in case I need it. And I'm going to do my negative answer, that negative 53, and I'm going to add it to 360. And when you do that, you actually get 306 something. So that's another answer. So we also have, what was it, 306, I wish I could keep these up at the same time, 306.870, 306.870. But I told you when you have 2 theta, we want to go, so if it says your final answer, so theta is on 0 to 360, that means when we do this, we actually want to find 2 theta on 0 to 720 because we want to double the interval. So when I divide by 2, everything will be on 0 to 360. So I want to go around one more time. So if I was at this 53.130 and I go around one more time, right, I'm adding 360 degrees. So I'm going to take that answer and I'm going to add 360. So that's why I stored that as A, just in case. You don't have to do that. A lot of you guys have calculators where you can go back and grab. So I have my A, the 53, and I'm going to add it to 360, which most of you guys can probably do in your head, right? So 413.130, that's our next answer. And then we need that fourth answer, which is going to be this 306 number, right, 306.870, and we're going to add 360 to it as well. Okay, so when we do that, we get, let's see, 666.870 degrees. Okay, so I have 4 solutions. Now this was 2 theta. So my next step is I divide all of them by 2. Okay, so you can pretty quickly do that. You can use your calculator if you want to. Just use a calculator where I don't have to keep going back to that screen. So if I have 53.130 and I divide by 2, I get 26.565. Now, it's probably a good thing that you store it though. So I would do A divided by 2, just in case your rounding is a little bit off. This one is okay though, it's 26.565. And I don't know what MathXL says to do, like to round it to the nearest hundredth or tenth, or in this case would be the thousandth. So kind of pay attention to those directions. All right, so if I do 306.870, then I divide by 2, I get 153.435 degrees. 413.130 divided by 2, 206.565 degrees. And the last one, 666.870 divided by 2, and I get 333.435 degrees. And if you notice, all of those are now on the interval 0 to 360. So that would be one way of doing this problem. Now, another way that you could do it is if you've already looked at the notes that talk about graphing sine and cosine, you could do it with a graph because you'll end up having a cosine curve, which is going to look something like this. And then you would just graph the 3/5 line, and then you would find the places where they're intersecting, and those theta values would be between 0 and 360. So you could also do it that way using the graphing function. But this is probably where you're at this point in your lessons. So again, if you guys have questions, always come to office hours. I'm always here to help, and good luck.